Brad Chandler Coaching presents the Real Estate Investing Hot Seat Podcast. Stop working for someone else and get the support you need to make it as an investor. Having been part of over 2,000 deals, Brad Chandler will train you to buy and sell houses without making expensive mistakes. Learn about the good, the bad, and the ugly of investing from experience earned in the trenches as Brad coaches real investors how to find real success.
In this episode, you'll learn the magic Buy It Now button that allows us to sell 75% of our homes without the buyers ever seeing the inside. You'll also learn the 3 things you need to close a deal, how to avoid getting scammed by fake buyers, how to make sure your buyer's list is legitimate, and how to dig yourself out of a hole and turn your struggling real estate investment business around. So welcome everyone to the Real Estate Investing Hot Seat Podcast. Today, as our guest, we have Danielle Terry. Danielle is from Baltimore. Welcome to the show, Danielle.
Thank you. I really am happy to be here. I appreciate that.
Sure. How are you today? How's your day going?
It's actually going topsy-turvy, but I really feel like this is a great centering point for the day. So I'm excited to just jump in. So thank you for asking.
Awesome. So Danielle, tell myself and the listeners just when did you get into real estate investing? What have you been doing the last couple of years?
Perfect. So I actually was introduced into real estate investing by way of Brittany Bolling. So she actually took me on for consulting services with business organization and business development. Brittany was the one that had already established herself in investing in wholesaling, and she created a mega business. And as she was growing, it was important to her to seal processes that were working, make sure that the team was aware, involved, and ready to go once leads were coming in. And my job was to organize all of those things. So that's how I was introduced to the process. And that was about 3 years ago. From there, once you jump into somebody's business, because I had no idea what wholesaling was, I had no idea that there was this line of real estate. So I was able to understand the process and then eventually partner in the business. So that's where my experience came from. And that's what we've been doing ever since.
Very cool. What did you do before joining Brittany? What was your background?
So my background is in communications and public relations. So my business, I had built a whole little empire for me based off of life plans and actual business organization. So Brittany was put in touch with me just by a referral, just, saying I'm a happy voice. I want to know what you're doing in business. If I can help, great, but everybody deserves a plan. So that's how we met. And that business is still continued on for myself. But really on the real estate end, oh man, Brad, it has been a roller coaster. I mean, first for me, trying to really understand what wholesaling is and then why and what it's not, really more importantly, and then really trying to build a process behind that what Brittany calls it, like that Wild West approach of things. So that is where I came in. And then Mindy had the pleasure of joining us earlier or sometime last year, and her background is in property management. And actually, not lead generation, that's Brittany, but property management is where she falls. So it's just been a cool team of everybody that has different skill sets, but the same goals.
Awesome. Sounds like a great team. So tell me, what are you guys doing now? What are you, in terms of deals, and what are you focusing on?
Perfect. So, all right. So what we're focused on right now is how we want to continue. It's been, like I said, it's been a roller coaster. So where we were before is that all of our lead source came in through Brittany's top ranking site. We had a top ranking site before where it was called sellmybaltimorehousefast.com. That site is the one that Brittany built up from the ground. And every day we were averaging a lead. We got a lead a day. We got 3 phone calls a day. And this is when it was during that revamp process, when it was just her and I trying to iron out the details of the business. That put us in a, almost like a tailspin because of the fact we were a small 2-man team, because the team members that we had before were already used to their own practices. They were great. They were great JVers, if that makes sense. But there was no team. So what we did is we ironed out a lot of the processes, and then we actually revamped what we wanted to do as a team. So it was her and I tag teaming these leads. So we did everything. So when the lead came in, we did the probing, we did the qualifying, we went to the property, we took the pictures, then we marketed, and we got in contact with the investor, and like we did the whole process. And Brittany had already had 50 deals under her belt, just JVing and doing deals on her own. So I was already cleaning up that process and then being introduced to that heavy lead flow that we had before.
Okay.
Continuously. In December, we made the decision to sell the site very specifically because of the fact we were able to get the deals under contract, but our investor lead source dried out. Like, we didn't have anybody that had a quote unquote business or actual true funds to actually, purchase the properties that we were able to get under contract. So we got a place in business where we were, the lack of it is like stagnant. Like, we could get everything done on the front end, but when you had to match it to an investor, that's where we failed, because we could not get it to somebody who actually had the means to do it. And when I tell you that we've been to closing, at the closing table, actually waiting for investors to show up, EMD completely and totally, already at title, still couldn't get it done. So then we went more into a tailspin, because then it was like, okay, are we using the wrong numbers? You know what I mean? Is it the wrong message? But it was just so many things that happened at one time for two people that already knew how to do this business, but it took over, if that makes sense.
Okay, so let's unpack that a little bit, because I'm sure there's some valuable lessons for you guys as well as our listeners out there. So you guys are getting deals under contract, and your issue is that you can't get them to closing.
Yeah.
Out of 10 deals, would you actually show up to the closing table 10 times, or would you get half of them to the closing table?
We would definitely get, so all deals would be able to be under contract. That is 100%. We know how to do that. Talking to the seller, advising the seller of their options, and making sure that they actually qualify for a cash deal. We got that.
Right.
So that was that's our niche. We know how to talk to the seller. Talking to the investor is what really stopped us, because of the fact we had the property, under contract. We had it at the right price point based off of what, comparables, what everybody else was in that neighborhood was purchasing for cash. But then I don't know. We don't know what happened. Everything just, we couldn't get to closing.
Okay. So that was my question. So you've got the property under contract with the seller, and now you go and market it to a buyer. How many of those assignments are you getting out of 10 contracts you get under contract? Are you getting 10 assignments, or are you getting 2 assignments out of those?
I would definitely say probably 2 to 3 assignments. And then out of those 2 to 3 assignments, we thought that we were dealing with the actual investor, but then we would find out that it was a wholesaler. So, you know what I mean? So then
so this is great. So
it was horrible.
Well, it is horrible for you guys. I wish we would have had this podcast started in December, because I could have solved all your problems fairly quickly.
Oh, wow.
Here's the issue. If you get properties under contract and you can't wholesale them, there's 2 issues. You either don't have them at the right numbers, or you don't have the right buyers.
Right.
So I can't comment on if you have them on the right numbers. I'm going to ask you some questions about if you have the right buyers. But before I do that, you made the comment that it almost seemed like you were tricked a couple of times, where you thought they were the end buyer. There's a very, very, very simple solution to that. When we wholesale properties, and we wholesale everything now starting in last December, we require from the buyer a non-refundable $10,000 to $20,000 EMD check. Now, I understand we're in the DC market. Baltimore is less. But had I talked to you on this podcast in December and you told me the issues you were having, I would have told you immediately start requiring a $500 to $7,500 non-refundable deposit. Right off the bat, if someone gives you a $7,500 non-refundable deposit that the title company, it's either wired or ACH, or they get a cashier's check and it cashes, then if the person backs out, at least you've got the $7,500. But more than that, it's not really, I mean, we've probably had out of 100 wholesale deals we've done in the last 6 months, we've probably had one person back out and leave the EMD, because when people put their cash out like that, they're serious about closing.
Yeah.
So that's going to solve that issue. Tell me about the buyers. Like, where are you getting these buyers? Who are you marketing to?
Absolutely. So we'll just talk about 2016 as a whole, because that's where everything really started to unfold. Originally, Brittany had a beautiful buyers list, like just a list of, well, let's say maybe a couple thousand of individuals that claim that they are buyers, right? When I came into the process, I'm all about relationship. So if you are going to continuously buy something, we want to know who you are. We want to know what your requirements are.
Sure.
What are you actually looking to do in the communities that you're serving?
Right.
So what we started to almost start interviewing our buyers, because of the fact, like, since we were averaging a lead a day, we always had something in the Baltimore city area. So what we started doing is really just asking about, like, what are your requirements? What are you looking for? What are you wanting to do? So it was a lot of coffees, a lot of lunches. And what at that time, the one question that I really believe we needed more help with is how to correctly ask about the money. Now, for me and my end, it was like, well, we want to know what your plan is, already assuming there was a lot of assumptions made, assuming that you have the funds to bring these things to table. Brittany already had deals under her belt. When I partnered into the business, I had already starting to receive commission checks from the deal. So the money almost wasn't an issue. It was already flowing, right?
Right.
But when we were sitting down with the investors, everybody was talking about what they're going to do, not what they can do. And I believe that was a disconnect on our end, because we weren't asking, is it cash? Is it private money? Are you doing a different loan? Are you doing these things? So that was the disconnect, how to properly ask those money questions. Because we didn't start to ask for those EMD checks until we knew that we had that commitment for the buyer. And then from the buyer, and then from there, it just, it was just out the door. We didn't start drying up until we realized that, people were not able to close, in the sense that it's like, go ahead.
So why do you think that? So if Brittany did 50 deals, why was it that? What happened that things just started changing and she wasn't able to get these to closing? Or of the 50 deals that she did, could she have done 150 had she been doing the right processes?
Absolutely, absolutely. I believe that. I believe when I met her, she had already built the machine, if you will, not necessarily the business. The machine was the website. The website was the one that produced the lead. But once a lead comes in, there's a process that has to go behind that, right? Like, when we contact, when we follow up, when do we schedule the appointment? When do we take the pictures? When do we take the video? When do we put it in? There was 18 steps behind just one lead, and we're getting one every single day on top of the one that we got yesterday. And then we had call-ins as well. What she built was a business that was, a machine that was nowhere near the size of the business that had to be created at the same time. So when I came into it, it was cleaning up more than anything. And then two, the team that she was working with before, they were not team, but like it was the other JVers that, like, it was like, all right, everybody had a piece of the puzzle where, these people are going out to get it under contract. These people are the ones taking pictures. We're bringing it back in. So
yeah, that's a really tough model. You've got to have employees or actual partners that own part of the LLC. Where are you guys currently trying to find cash buyers for your list right now?
Oh, great. We're at day one with that. What I mean by that is we have decided to remove those that we worked with before, because it wasn't a seamless process, if that makes sense. There was no of the regular business disclosures. Like, we're a group of people that, like, if we don't know, we're gonna tell you, right? And if we don't know how to get it or where it needs to come from, we find out. So always 100% honesty. What we've dealt with before in the past is people that, like, they're telling us that they can do things and then they can't. And then when they're saying, when we're getting to the portion of, like, getting them to show proof of funds, proof of plan, just whatever their intent is, that's when it gets sketchy. That's when it's like, oh, well, we'll just get it to closing. We'll just get it to like, so.
But this is a really simple solution, Danielle.
Yeah.
Don't delete any buyers you have, because Brittany has spent time and money to cultivate those buyers. It's very simple. When we get a property under contract, we schedule the open house. We blast it out to our buyers. Actually, first we put it on our website at ehbdeals.com. Eddie Henry Boy stands for ehbdeals.com. Mm-hmm. And we put I'm going to make up numbers. The open house is this Saturday at 2:00 and it's $199,000. Or you can buy it now for $215,000. It's kind of like the eBay buy it now button. That if you want to buy it now, it's sight unseen, and you have got to deliver a $20,000 non-refundable EMD with the assignment contract signed and proof of funds. Until they do that, the open house is still scheduled. So you guys need to do the same thing. I don't know if you're doing an open house model, but it really doesn't matter. It's very, very simple. When you send this out to the buyers, it is not taken off the market until the person gives you a proof of funds, an EMD, and a signed assignment contract. So for those you don't know, let me just quickly explain wholesaling. So Brittany goes to Bob's house. Bob filled out a form online, and Brittany runs her numbers, and she figures out that, let's say the house, she can buy the house for $100, she can put in $50,000, and she can sell it for $250. But we know Brittany doesn't wholesale. Excuse me. We know Brittany doesn't renovate. So Brittany gets a house under contract at $100. She goes to her buyer's list and she goes, I want to wholesale this property for $120,000. John comes along and John sees, oh, 120, put in 50, sell for 250. Sounds like a great deal. I'll do it. So John shows up to closing, writes a check to the title company for $120,000. Remember, Brittany had it under contract for $100. That $100,000 of the $120,000 goes to goes to the seller. The other $20,000 remaining is the actual assignment fee that goes to Brittany. So that's how wholesaling works. You guys just can't accept. It's not a ratified deal unless they have all three of those pieces: the proof of funds, the executed assignment agreement, and the non-refundable EMD, which stands for earnest money deposit. If they give you, and don't accept personal checks, they either have to wire the money to your title company that's handling the closing, or they've got to send what's called an ACH transaction. It's just another way that you can send money that's not as expensive as wires. Or they've got to give a cashier's check. So very simply, when you market your properties, make sure that don't ratify the contract, don't move on, don't stop marketing the property until you have those three pieces of information. So I wouldn't clean up your buyer's list at all, because to push an email button, it doesn't cost you anything. So keep those people, because you never know. There may be, if you've got hundreds of people, there may be very qualified people on there. The second thing is, it may just be that your numbers aren't right. And it's impossible for me to ask you about your numbers because I'd have to have a lot of information. So
Sure.
do those three things, and I promise you it will change your business. Where I was going at, so right now, you're not actively marketing for any buyers. It seems like you're just kind of cleaning up old mistakes and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Because everything that you're saying right now, I can 100% agree with, because that is a function of process. It's a beautiful business makeup. What we've had experienced over, I guess, want to say the last couple of months and years, is having to clean up while market deals at the same time. So now when I say that, you're wanting to deviate from our existing buyers list in our, how we did things before, is because they weren't working. And then what happens is, while you're building a business on top of cleaning up a business, it's kind of like, all right, all that we have right now is our skills. You know what I mean? We know.
I can relate. I've been there. I mean, we're still cleaning up some mistakes from our past while we're trying to grow. So I get that. I think you're overcomplicating things a little bit, though. This business is fairly simple. So you guys know how to market. You know how to value a property. You know how to estimate renovations. You know how to get it under contract. So go do that, and then just implement the things that I said. And you don't need to look, I'm the biggest fan of systems in businesses. The day I started my business, or the day before I started my business, I had read E-Myth by Michael Gerber. It's all about systematizing your business. 13 years later, I could now fly to Jamaica today come back in 6 months, and I would bet my children's life that my company would be better off than when I left. Why is that? It's because of systems and people. But you guys aren't doing 200 transactions a year. There's 2 of you. You can easily handle this. You just need to focus on getting the properties under contract at the right number, blasting them out to the buyer's list, doing what I told you in terms of the 3 pieces, the ratified assignment, the signed assignment agreement, the EMD, and the proof of funds. The next thing you need to do is you need to go out and get better buyers. And how do you get better buyers? The number one source for qualified good buyers is once you get the property under contract, you do a radius search, and it depends. I know Baltimore is really tricky, but in a normal area, you would do like a mile radius search or a half a mile radius search. And you would look for realtors who had sold a cash transaction, which means that their buyer came and bought with cash in the last 18 months. You call up Mr. Realtor or Mrs. Realtor. Hi, Jane. This is Danielle. I've got a property on 123 Maple Street that I'm selling at a big discount. I see that your buyer bought the house around the corner for cash. We're looking for cash buyers. Would your buyer be interested in buying this house for cash at $120,000? If they've dealt with a realtor typically isn't going to waste their time with some dodo bird, imposter who's trying to get properties under contract and then re-wholesale them, because that's all those people were doing. They were wholesalers pretending to be rehabbers that didn't have the money, and they were trying to go call wholesale. It happens all the time. I mean, that's part of the reason why this industry has such a bad name, is because there's a lot of bad apples out there. So if you do those things, and I'm not telling you to go like build a factory or come up with a 100-page manual. You don't need that right now. It sounds like what you guys need is you need cash in the business to let you breathe a little bit. Yeah. That's going to get you cash in the business. So are you guys currently marketing? Are you driving leads into the business?
No. So as I was saying earlier before we got on, so now the lead source that is coming in is just with, older channels, if you will. Even the deal that we were talking about with DC, that's not somewhere we market or anything like that. So these are people that have had our contact information before, or that we've worked with in the past. So if anything, it's more or less people calling back, if you will, but no, not actively marketing anything. Go ahead.
Okay. Do you guys, I got so many things I can help you with. Let me make a note here. Yeah. So I want to talk about your the DC deal. So you mentioned, as we're setting up for the call, I didn't hit the record button yet, but you mentioned that Brittany was on an appointment in DC. Yes. Knowing your situation and knowing how you've had bad luck with buyers, what you need to do, hopefully she's going to call you and say, I got the property in your contract.
Right.
The next thing you need to do is place a call to my team. And what we're going to do is we're going to take that deal and we're going to put it on ehbdeals.com. The whole world's going to see it. And then a couple hours later, we're going to send out a mass email and text to literally 10,000 investors. We're going to have a price on there. We're going to have the higher buy it now price. We're going to handle the open house. We're going to handle the closing. We're going to handle making sure that the people give us the EMD, the non-refundable EMD, the assignment agreement signed, and the proof of funds. We're going to close on that, and then you're going to keep 60% of that transaction. So hopefully it's a big deal. Say it's a $100,000 wholesale fee in DC. You guys get $60,000, and if it's closing next week, you get the $60,000 next week. You don't have to worry about being ripped off, anything. If there's other people in DC, we do that with other investors that want to do that. But Danielle and Brittany, you guys should definitely do that, because I know you're in need of cash.
We do, because it came through the site. You know what I mean? So it came. So let's back up. So my end of business on the supporting this was really dealing with the people, right? Not necessarily having the lead.
The system. Yep.
The system.
Yep.
And the reason why I'm saying it is really just to get more comfortable, because what I want to definitely do is I want Brittany to talk about that. And you know what I mean? I really, I feel like that all these gaps in the conversation that I'm having right now, I feel like would be better suited if she's talking about like the process and on her end. You know what I mean?
It's fine though, because this is really I hope you're getting some value out of it. I know the listeners will too. So you guys, I can see this crystal clear. I understand it. You guys made a bunch of mistakes in terms of processes and what you should have done right. So I've given you the game plan to fix that. You guys sold the site. I'm familiar with it. Like, I've known Brittany for a couple of years. She bought a site through OnCarrot. I know OnCarrot very well, the best in the business. So I get it. Like, you guys went through a tough time. I think she probably made a really bad decision selling the website because it was generating leads. She just didn't know how to properly close the leads. So I would recommend that she go right back to Carrot, or maybe she ought to go to the person she sold it to and say, hey, is there any way I can buy it back from you? If not, go. She's already done it once. Go to Carrot. They give you a roadmap. I'll put that in the show notes at bradchandler.com/20 for all the listeners out there that are driving down the road. I'll put a link to Carrot. She needs to get another site, do the same thing she did, because OnCarrot gives you a roadmap to how to build up your site organically through search engine optimization. So you need to do that, and then you need to go back to the traditional ways of bandit signs, and you can even do pay-per-click advertising. You can do some direct mail. You guys, you're a business, and the only way that you're going to make money is if you generate leads and then close leads. So that would be my focus, is not to worry about what's happened in the past. It's just, okay, so going forward, again, you don't need to come up with a 50 or 100 page operation manual now. All you need to do is simply require those 3 things from a cash buyer. Make sure that when you're cultivating new cash buyers, so let's say that a property comes in today, you get under contract, and it's in Baltimore, so we're probably not going to co-wholesale it there, although we do that sometimes. So let's just go with it. We're not going to. So a property comes in today, you get it under contract. You're going to simultaneously blast it out to your buyers list, but you're also going to pick up the phone. You're going to do a search within MREIHS, which is our multiple listing service, and you're going to find like 20 to 30 to 40 agents who sold cash transactions. And it's just literally a function that you click a button that says financing type cash. And then you call those agents and you go, we're marketing this property. We've got a lot of interest in it. Are you interested? Is your cash buyer interested? And then you require those 3 pieces of information. And you guys know, so much more than the new investor, because Brittany and yourself have done deals. So I think that's what you need to do to kind of right the ship. And then we can talk about systems and procedures and all that good stuff. But if you were a new investor, I'd give you different advice, but you guys, and you and Brittany, have closed deals, so you know how to generate it, you know how to close it, all that. So that would be my advice, is just to get some leads coming in. And before I say get some leads coming in, I guess I should have qualified. Do you guys have any marketing budget at all to do any?
I'm glad that you brought that up, because so that's the piece of this, Brad, because 6 months ago is when we needed to talk. You know what I mean? And what I mean by and so that's where a lot of my not with you, but like the disconnect of this is, because it's like, no, because now the well has run dry. It's tapped. It's
so no money. Okay.
Yeah, there's no money. So like when we stand before you with the skill set, with the drive, with the know-how, that's awesome. But now the business is more or less, if you will, a concept. You know what I mean? So when I have to report back today, right, they're going to ask me, they're going to be like, what did Brad say? And I'm like, well, Brad said a lot of great stuff that we needed to hear 6 months ago. But when we look at how we're going to operate now, doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Okay. Go ahead.
I get you. And for all those listeners out there that are super, struggling or getting ready to get started, and they're like, oh my gosh, I hope this doesn't happen to me. Not to, toot my own horn, but again, had we connected 6 months ago, and, the ironic thing is Brittany probably could have picked up the phone and called me, and I would have just helped her out. I can't do that with everyone, but I probably would have done it just because I've talked to her in the past. It's not hopeless. You guys, hopefully, if you take my advice, 2 years from now, you'll be like laughing at this, saying, oh my God, that was actually the best thing that ever happened to me, because we realized that we made mistakes, and now we're really, really focused on how not to make mistakes anymore. Mm-hmm. So it's not too late. What we've got to pray for is we've got to pray that when you talk to Brittany and say, hey, do you still have that database that you, that it exists? And then you guys go crazy with text, emails, and phone calls, following up with that database, trying to get deals. Now, the new way that I've told you how to sell them, you're not going to have any problem as long as you're getting them under contract at the right numbers.
I agree with that, but okay. So, So you have a relationship with Brittany in the sense that okay, so how do I say this? Because I know I know what the goal is for the podcast. And if we could just, just totally be honest, right? Like just for a second, like in a way where it's like, the great thing about this is it's pre-recorded, right? So I don't know, so it's not live. So I have to take that into account. I really think that you two should speak. And what I mean by that is because the business has burned out, she's still trying to revamp it. It's burnt out. Even with this deal in DC, it's still like a long shot. And even if we do get it under contract and we're able to close, it's not going to be enough to generate what needs to happen to get back into the flow that we had before, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, I really would like to see. I understand the meat of the exchange that we're having right now, which is great because there's a lot of people that need to hear this story, and there's a lot of people that need to follow your steps immediately. But what I want is the meat of the real estate language and experience on her end. Mind you, my background is from organization, right? Life plans. So, when you're thinking about being motivated or figuring out if this piece is going to be for you, that's my job. I'm the team person. But what you're talking about in my truest mind, when I have to talk to her and I have to talk to Mindy, I'm going to be like, no, it was great. And we wish Brad the best of luck, but we don't have the funds to bring this back together. We don't have.
But it's, like, I don't think it's as dire as you think it is, because many businesses have been where you are, and you can't focus on, obviously you've got to be aware of your budgetary constraints, but you've got to focus on the fact that now you know what to do correctly. And I will be glad to talk with Brittany for a couple minutes, offline, or, maybe I'll pull her back onto another future podcast. But I'm giving you the roadmap right here. The roadmap is you need to dive deep into your database. And, I said earlier that we probably couldn't help you in Baltimore, and I'm going to take that back because we have an exceptional person in Baltimore. We've got all the systems and the buyers. So anything you get under contract, you may just want to give to us and co-wholesale it until you guys, get some cash, and then you can start doing, building up the system on your own. But if, let's just say that worst case scenario, Brittany says, no, we sold our database as well, then look, you just have to get resourceful. That may mean reaching out to people in the business that and saying, hey, can I sell a part of my company? Can I get a loan? You may need to, and I'm not sure I would tell a new investor this, but because you guys have the knowledge, you might have to get credit cards. You might have to say, hey, we're gonna go buy $500 worth of bandit signs on a credit card, and we're gonna put those out, and we're gonna man those phones 24 hours a day. If that phone call comes in at 3:00 in the morning, I'm gonna freaking answer that thing, and I'm gonna call that person back or talk to them and try to close that deal. So I understand that you don't have all the information of the business because you run your certain part, but I hope this was helpful. And I know listeners out there that are probably in your same position and ready to give up. But I'm telling you, you're far from, I would, if I was your coach, I would not advise you to throw in the towel. I would just go back to grassroots, really, really cheap marketing. Get that phone to ring. Brittany knows how to set up a website. It's not even set up a website. The website already comes all ready for you. Brittany knows what she did before to get that thing ranked. She can do that. And within 6 months, she could have another highly ranked site, another OnCare site that's pulling in, like you guys said, 4 leads a day. I mean, that's 120 leads. That's 120 leads a month, which should equate to, it takes us about 30 leads to close a deal. So you're looking at, 3 deals. If you can make an average wholesale fee of $10,000 to $15,000, you got a pretty good business. That's $300,000 or $400,000 business a year. So, I've been there. I've been where you've been. We made some colossal mistakes in our business. We did some stupid stuff in terms of expansion. We took on way too much growth, and I've been in your position. I've been in your position where it's like, oh my God, are we going to lose it all? But all I kept saying is, and this is what sets successful people apart from the non-successful, is I never ever said I'm giving up. What I said is, hey, we're in a really, really bad position here, but I am going to find a way. I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to give up. And every single time we pulled through it, and we became stronger, because these are really hard lessons you guys are learning, but they're going to make you much stronger business women. And hopefully in a year, 2 years, 5 years from now, you're going to be super successful. You can look back and say, wow, that was actually, I believe everything in life happens for a reason. This stuff happened to you guys for a reason. And now, instead of saying, woe is me, and, we're done, and what can I do? You wake up every day and say, okay, I can only control what I can control today. So what are the 10 things, the 2 things, the 20 things that I'm going to do today that are going to turn this thing around? And it's all about generating leads and then closing deals.
Yeah, I can definitely appreciate that, Brad. I can definitely, I can appreciate it to a certain extent. And what I mean by that is that, like, okay, so you've been in this position before. You've been in this position before, and where we are with it now, the reason why we said yes to this, let's go there. The reason why we said yes to this is because we wanted the perspective. We wanted, again, like I said, Brittany was going to be the one to take this meeting. We wanted the perspective. We wanted a fresh set of eyes and a fresh set of ears from someone who's further along, who has achieved everything that they have set out to achieve, versus us that we're still in the building process. By no means have we decided to give up, but we did decide to get real and see, where we've come from. In my mind, I'm thinking about it. I'm like, okay, so if we did decide to pull funds together to put some sort of marketing budget together, and to bandit signs, or even just just simple advertisements, or if we decided to invest with investor carrot again and do these processes, then you're running the race of time. You're running the race of time, and you're running the steps that have to go through the whole process of wholesaling that deal. You have to, you know what I mean? So I feel like more than anything, it's our knowledge of what has to happen versus what can happen at the same time. So it's like, how do we shift that? Because everything you're saying is not foreign to me. It's not, I'm not saying that it is, but it's like, no, because of the fact where's the marketing money coming from, and where's the time coming from in order to do that? And that is not what we wanted to. Like, I know that's definitely not what you were supposed to be talking about with us today. You know what I mean? And that shit would be like,
no, that's absolutely fine. I mean, the whole show is to put someone in a hot seat and for me to break down their obstacles, which is exactly what I'm doing. I know Baltimore, unfortunately, we've probably lost a lot more money in Baltimore than we've made. Baltimore is a very, very, very tough market. Right. So, you guys need to be resourceful. You need to dig down deep with everything that you know, and you need to go scrape up from friends and family, and go to title companies that she's done business with. Anyone that's made money off of her, she needs to go to them and say, hey, I made some mistakes. Here are the mistakes I made. Here's how I'm going to fix the mistakes. And I just outlined how you're going to fix the mistakes. Get together $5,000 or $10,000. Get another on-carrot site. I would probably start pay-per-click, because pay-per-click through Google is probably your number one source right now. I would absolutely not market in downtown Baltimore, in the areas where if there's any zip code where you can buy a house for under $10,000, I would not be marketing there, because that means your wholesale fees, if you're lucky, if you even can get a wholesale fee, it's going to be $1,000. Go to the areas of the city, market in those areas, and you can do that with Google pay-per-click. You can geographically target. Go to the areas of the city where the average price point, where the average sales price is over $200,000, and then do Baltimore County and the surrounding counties. And again, you might say, well, we don't have buyers there. Well, you do, because you're going to use my technique that as soon as you get that property under contract, you're going to call realtors within a radius of there, and realtors who have sold cash transactions, and you're going to call them. And that's you don't have 100 options. That's probably the only option. Is you just need to go out and prove to people, or convince people, that you know this business, you made some mistakes. Here's your plan of how you're going to get out of it, and here's how they're going to get paid back. And make it really great, and go raise the money, and then make sure you execute on it, and just do follow the instructions that I gave you. And I think you'll pull out of it.
I think, I don't think that you're wrong. I don't think that, so it's hard. Like I said, the disconnect is just being seasoned. right now is really that's my biggest disconnect, is being seasoned. I believe that the plan that you have displayed does make sense. It's I don't know.
All right. Well, I mean, all you can do is move forward. That's all you can do. You can't say, woe is me. You can't say, we made mistakes. We're done. You got to move forward. So wake up tomorrow, or start today. Start today by putting down a plan of, do we have leads? If we have leads, let's start calling them. If we don't have leads, let's get together a program that outline a program. Let's put together a plan that can be shared with people that says, here are the mistakes we made. Here's how we've remedied them. Here's how we're moving forward. We need this much startup money, and here's how you get paid back. So we got to wrap up because the podcast has gone over a little bit, but I hope that was helpful. Please share with Brittany what I talked about. If you execute, if you just do the things that I said, you will call me in a couple of months, hopefully, and be like, wow, this is amazing. So you mentioned that I've accomplished everything I set out to accomplish. I'm not even close. Like I always had dreams to be a national company. So I'd like Express Homebuyers to be a national brand. And I've started a coaching company to help people just like you, because I have a passion around, and I think I'm really good at it, helping people fix their problems in their business. And I'm really great at growing businesses. So I'm passionate about it. And, again, I wish we could have talked 6 months ago, but for, everyone out there that's really struggling and, pounding their heads and thinking, I'm down to my last penny, there is an answer. It's just, things probably haven't been done the way that they should have been done. And I've got a roadmap to show you exactly how to do it, at bradchandler.com.
Thank you.
Hopefully that was helpful to you, Danielle. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. And again, let's keep in touch, and hopefully in a couple of months you'll be singing a whole different tune.
Thank you for listening to this episode. It's now time to take action. Text the word INVEST to 855-999-1616 and get a free guide teaching you how to qualify, schedule, and close more deals faster with the advanced agreement, the technique we use to do 20+ wholesale deals per month. Also, go to bradchandler.com/podcast to apply to be a guest on this podcast. You'll receive a 30-minute coaching session with Brad, a $1,000 value for free.